population and also the level of affluence which the third world is, you see, improving. The per capita income in India, China, and Pakistan, and then Africa, that's not going to end. At the same time, the population in these areas is also, you see, increasing at a very fast pace. But what the fashion industry is doing, yes, they are trying to be responsible, but at the same time, they try to sell more products. Fast fashion. I was talking to Maria last night. We used to have 3 or 4, you see, collections in a year. Now you have 26 collections. So you want to sell more. You want to sell much more, as I think we were seeing the per kilo consumption in Denmark. And we also want to control. So I think we have to be responsible shoppers and responsible sellers as well, not just the manufacturing. That's one point. So add to my presentation, there are various, you see, figures, but most of the range is that the fashion industry is contributing between 2 to 8% of the global greenhouse gases. And for a retailer or a brand, 96% is scope 3, because their shops and their operations are just adding 4%. So all the responsibility goes to the tier 1, 2, 3. When tier 1 is the actual garment makers, the tier 2 is the fabric or the yarn, tier 3, and then tier 4 is the crop or the actually fiber manufacture. So 96% of the greenhouses are coming from there. So what's happening is that all the responsibility is being shifted to tier 1, 2, 3, 4. And tier 0 is shifting that responsibility. I'm just trying to give you the perspective how it's happening. Now in a country like Pakistan, while we want to do it, we operate slightly differently from rest of the world. In Pakistan, companies like Interloop, Crescent, we feel very proud that we are vertically integrated. Now that means that I can control probably my tier 2 and tier 3 emissions. But what about everybody else who is not vertical? In China, even in Bangladesh, people are not vertical. So, but in Pakistan, if we just look at the top under 20, 30 suppliers, that's a different story. But the entire chain, if you look at the whole, and Pakistan unfortunately has a very low number of SMEs. Any country which has developed, even in the garment sector, has a lot of dependence on SMEs. So the point I'm trying to make is that the entire pressure comes on the tier 1. Tier 2, tier 3 is out of the scope for tier 0. The yarn manufacturers, for example, ordinary male will go and buy yarn from somebody else. And they don't have any control on that. They can have control on the scope 1 emissions, but they can't have any control on the scope. Scope 1 is what you do yourself. Scope 2 is how the energy is being generated, and scope 3 is what you buy from others. So how can they? So in the end, I think we have to. These buyers have to look into these issues. That these problems are not. They can't just say that it's your problem, and you can go to a spinning mill which is controlling the greenhouse gases. We have to do it collectively. That's what my point is. It's a complex problem. It's not. We can't leave it to just the supplier. So it has to be like that. Next slide, please. So I think it has been said that this year we were hoping to touch $20 billion in textile exports. We have had a lot of growth. We have a lot of growth to US, but we have also had a lot of growth to Europe. So madam, Denmark being part of the EU, it's a blessing that you're here. And Marie was talking about the 60 new legislative proposals which address some of the sustainability issues. There are, as I understand, there are 3 new conventions being prepared by the European Commission to be added to the GSP Plus scheme, which will be implemented from 2024 onwards, the new scheme. And those conventions also include things about sustainability. And there is talk of penal duties, not only on companies and products, but also on the countries which are not complying with certain standards or not, you see, moving towards reducing the greenhouse gases. So it's not simple, it's complex, and I think Denmark and other European Union members have always tried to use GST Plus and other schemes to help countries like us improve. They have not used it as a stick, but as a candy, and as trying to help us improve. But I think we need you to hold our hand also. As you understand Pakistan, it's not just the business. It is, I think the employment in Pakistan and stability in this region depends upon employability of people. And the garment industry is so I would, using this forum, I would request you that we have to interact very actively to see if we will have shortcomings. Pakistan will have shortcomings, every country will have shortcomings. And we will work with the government also as associations, trying to see where we can help and we can. But I think there need to be a better dialogue and more understanding of the whole problem. Can you go on, please? All right. So this is a chart which I am trying to show the climate impact. On the x-axis is the GDP per capita, and on the y-axis is the vulnerability of any country from the climate actions. And the size of the bubble is the population. So if the extreme left top is Pakistan, is the worst hit country from climate in the world, because we have a lowest per capita and we are much more, the drought and the floods and everything is putting us there. The big bubble is India, but the extreme right bottom big bubble is USA. So the poorer countries are the most affected also. So this is what I'm trying to say. In Pakistan, we as manufacturers, we don't have to do it for our buyers in the West. We have to do it for ourselves. We won't survive if we don't do it. We have to do it. It's otherwise we will not survive. So it was I'm just trying to show how important it is and how much dear it is to us. Can you go on, please? All right. So Peter was talking about the absence of Pakistan from such forums as the global fashion conference. In fact, I was supposed to go. This is a passing remark, and I think it was ending on 8th and my visa was ending on 8th. So I couldn't risk. I was in USA. They asked me, the Net Zero Coalition asked me to fly to Denmark, and I said I will do it, but my visa is expiring, so I can't. So I missed it. But to address your point, Peter, I think again it's a pity that we have so many associations. PHMA has been doing a wonderful job, but then we have other associations also which represent various segments of textile, and on many issues we do cooperate and we do the same thing. But I think when it comes to advocacy, there is no one joint forum. And again, I am not fully, convinced, but still we have formed yet another council, which is a section, it's a not-for-profit actually company, which is called Pakistan Textile Council. And we today have about 25 members, and I would say it's a big boys club, to be honest. We have put a certain condition that only those people will be invited who are committed to social compliance and at the same time have at least 7 billion rupees of exports and 10 billion of turnover. So I would call it a big boys club. The reason it was formed that we should have some like-minded people who do the advocacy. So the Pakistan Textile Council PTC, Peter, we have now we have hired a lobbyist in Brussels. We collected money together. We have hired a lobbyist who is talking to all the associations, all the European associations. I'm on the MIT committee. I've had meetings with various members, various directors of the commission, trying to understand what they're doing. And what our Pakistani perspective is. And PTC was also instrumental. You mentioned, Peter, about the Net Zero Coalition, which has been formed by the Pakistan Environment Trust. And it has 21 members as of today, and 20 of them are textile firms. Only one is a non-textile firm. Although it's a Net Zero Coalition and the commitment is to commit to science-based targets to limit the warming by 1.5 degrees. So 20 of the companies in Pakistan which have committed are textile companies. Again, these are big boys, including us. I'm very sure we cannot succeed unless everybody is on board. But at least it's a good beginning. We are going to do that. And we are from the PTC. We will also try to bring in more members from other associations, and our plan is to go and represent Pakistan, not just Council, Pakistan on various forums where we can put up our perspective about the whole issue. Because it's not just environment sustainability, now it's the things that are going beyond that. Now it's ESG is more important. Governance has come in. Governance was never there, but now governance has come. So we are trying to influence the government policies. As I mentioned earlier, all of us sitting here, whether we are big or small or medium, we don't have any control on the scope 2 emissions. How does our government or the utility produce electricity?
That's true.
That is not within our control. For that, and that also has an economic implications. So I think we have to find ways where people can understand, our buyers, our retailers, and our brands can understand that they have to help us achieve all those things. We cannot achieve net zero unless all the scope 2 and scope 3 emissions are controlled. But there's limited amount of hydel electricity and renewable energy available. I was talking to Maria last night. I was sharing with her information, because we have been manufacturing in Sri Lanka, that obviously like us, they have a part of generation which comes from hydel. The rest is fossil fuel. So what they do is they are two different rates, although it's the same grade. So if they are but they know how much megawatts they are producing from hydel. So if I want to say that, okay, I bought only hydel, I have to pay 1 rupee extra. And that extra rupee is then used to put in more renewable energy. So there could be ways and means where we can all help each other. So my last point on this is that in the net zero coalition, what has happened is, for the first time in Pakistan, that now the RECs have started, renewable energy certificates. Now we can trade renewable energy because if it is not possible entirely for a company to bring down their emissions, they can buy from somebody who doesn't need to, who has a solar power for their own company, and they don't need to. There is no compliance, but they can through the exchange they can now buy those and bring down their table. So we are moving towards that, which is happening in Europe also. It will take time. It will need your support and guidance on those things. Next slide, please. So a little bit about Interloop, and again I would say Interloop is not the only company who might be doing all this. There are many wonderful companies in Pakistan, and our purpose is to be an agent of positive change for the stakeholders and community by pursuing an ethical and sustainable business. And when we say sustainable, from day one, it was a triple P bottom line, which is the planet, people, and prosperity. Now, the prosperity is now taking a new shape, which we call now, maybe we have started calling it ESG, governance. Governance would bring in all these things and will also bring in prosperity or profits. But that's what the aim is, and we today have about 34,000 associates working for us, and we have operations in 6 countries, with manufacturing in 3 countries, including Pakistan. We had in 4, in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and China, but now we have just Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and China. Bangladesh, we have, after COVID, we were not able to sustain that. So, but we plan to increase our people to about 50,000 by end of next year. So despite all the, we know there is a lot of challenging environment. The sales are going down. The recession is there. The costs are going up. But in our company, we look 10 years ahead. We can't just stop because something has gone wrong. These days will not last. Good days will come. So we are not delaying anything. Next slide, please. So we as I said, we have a triple bottom line approach. We have aligned not with all the 17 SDGs, but we do have alignment with SDGs, and we do have annual ESG reporting. We already do it according to international standards. We are doing that. Next slide, please. So we have 5-year visions, and in every vision, and now we have the vision 2025, and because the financial year in Pakistan ends in the next year, so vision 2025 would end on the June 26. So we have set our own internal goals, irrespective of whether our customers are asking those things or not. So we have set our internal goals that we'll reduce the emissions by 25%. Our water usage will go down. We will have 70% traceable and sustainable raw materials. Now, when I say traceable, that is becoming a big problem. And I think because just having, especially because of cotton and the US and Chinese issues, now I think all the big customers and retailers, they're moving towards traceability. Where has the cotton come from? You can't, and unfortunately, the invoices are not being honored by some of them. That it's not enough to have just an invoice for a month. So you have to have, so it's a big problem. I think they are not holding hands, but they are asking us to do things. Again, I would say, I keep on saying this, that maybe for a company, the big companies, it's easy, not easy, but possible. But I think for everybody else, if you want the whole chain, there has to be something from the platform of the associations, from the trade associations abroad, like we were talking about what happened in Bangladesh after Rana Plaza. Everybody joined hands because the purpose is to improve things, it's not to really impose punitive duties or punish. So I think everybody will have to play their role to bring everybody on board. Similarly, we have committed to divert 100% waste to useful means. Will not a single pound of waste will go to landfill from us. That's our commitment, and we are well ahead on that path already. And then we'll be in the people side, while we have special programs for people who work for us, we will be at least investing, and we are doing that, 4% of our profits for the community well-being, not only in Pakistan, also in the countries where we operate. We have been donating, we have been participating in Alzheimer's socks with the cooperation of Heineken and some Dutch stores, Albert Heijn and others, and only the raw material cost is being charged. And so far in the last 3 years, it's sold in most of the Benelux stores, and so far we have together, and the stores, they don't charge any profits on that. The whole chain doesn't charge any profits. We have been able to contribute more than 2.5 million euros to the Alzheimer's Institute in Netherlands. So things like those. So we are not, we are trying to see how can we serve the community everywhere where we operate, and that's what our targets are. Next slide, please. So these are some of the pledges which we have already done, and we're working on it. Sustainable development goals, science-based targets, because without committing to science-based targets, you can't achieve the 1.5 degree ambition. Exactly. So we'll be by the end of I think, or beginning of 24 or middle of 24, we'll be actually finalizing the science-based targets so that we can achieve business ambitions. The problem with the business ambition 1.5, it's a very complex problem, and I'm sure most of the friends would know what it means, but it means that you have to bring down your emissions even if you are growing in absolute number. So the growth has to be at zero. Not only that, you have to bring down, so growth has to be at zero greenhouse emissions. So that is, for a country like Pakistan where we need growth, committing to this is, we would need billions of dollars for that. And I don't know where they're going to come from, but at least the ambition is there. So next slide, please. Some of the points which are really, so we already have 6 megawatts installed from solar energy. 2 megawatts will be commissioned in next month. The minimum we have committed with ourselves is 25 megawatts by 2025. We are decarbonizing. 100% coal phase out is happening. We have already almost done that, and we are on way to. Part of it is forced, to be honest, and part of it is coal is on our own. Some of the brands, they are now asking, which is I think in a way good but tough, that they will not accept any garments produced using steam from any fossil fuels. So you can't use gas to make steam and produce those garments. It's very tough. And by next year, some of the top world brands are asking that. So we are, again, this is a problem where you need to have collective, I would say, area, what do you call them? No, not approach. Industrial estates. I'm missing that. Where you can have combined. You see, because again, not everybody can put up biomass boilers. So, for example, we are now going to convert our new apparel park, which is being built on about 250 acres. We are going to have 100% steam for that entire park, which will have 7 or 8 plants, different type of, on biomass. But it's not the biomass boiler is very expensive. How to collect it? So we are purchasing about 70-80 acres in 3 different locations in the country, where we will first collect that biomass and then transport it. It's not easy. So not everybody can do it. But if we are moving that way, how do we do it? So there has to be, while we are talking with the government about the taxation and all that, I think these things are not, we are not collectively paying to these things. These are going to hit us very badly. So as associations, I think this is where we have to study and help everybody, because 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 companies can't, you see, take the country forward. So this is one thing. Similarly, on energy conservation, I keep referring to, because we had a very wonderful discussion last night. Bangladesh has hundreds of green buildings by the US Building Council. In Pakistan, we have handful. I don't think we even have 10 in Pakistan. The concept is not very clear. Most of the people think that it is probably more of a marketing gimmick, that it's a LEED certified gold or platinum. In our company, what we have decided is that any building we make will be a green building. We already have 3. The 4th one, which we are building now with $100 million apparel plant, will be platinum LEED. It's not just, it is the saving of energy. You end up saving so much of energy So it's a long-term benefit. And then you leave so much of open space for trees and all those things. But Pakistan is way behind in that. Already the construction cost is very high, and if you go for a lead building, it is another 15–20%. But I think in the long run, it does save you a lot of energy. It does save you a lot of water because you're forced to do that. And I think that's where we have to, as associations, go to the government and tell them that for, let's say, lead buildings, the government should offer some concessional finance like they do for machinery. Why not for the lead certified? So things like those where we can collectively do that. Okay, next slide. Probably I'm taking too much time, but I'll just. So I've already said that our new plants will be using more and more recycled water. The new water treatment plant which we have now we have written as 20%, but it has the capacity to recycle 40% of the water. But that's where we are going gradually. Next slide, please. I think Dr. Saab, the Vice Chancellor from the university, was here. He was online. I saw. Yeah. So not only that we are helping the farmers with the help of the International Organic Cotton Accelerator. We have identified and in a lot of farms in Bahawalnagar in the South Punjab, where we are helping them grow organic cotton, and also bringing certified seed from them for some of the areas in Balochistan, and that will be traced. That's one we will be doing. There is a patented technology developed by the university, textile university, Dr. Saab is presenting, to produce yarn from banana waste. So we have committed to that. We have provided funds for that. We have already spun the yarn. We have stations now in Singh, and we are now in the process of developing fabrics from those things. So things like those we are trying to do to see how we can just have regenerative practices to use. The next slide, please. So this is what I was trying to say, that the traceability is becoming a huge issue. So what our team has done is that it has created an app which is called Loop Trace, and it is in now practice. It actually, through blockchain, it traces the cotton from where it is picked, from the farm. It is linking farm to the ginning factory, to the spinning mill, to the fabric mill, to the garment. So every garment will be able to tell that from which farm this cotton came from. And it is now working, and we have shared it with some international, and they are really thrilled. And that is where we need to move, because I cannot prove that the cotton which I use didn't come from China or Kazakhstan. Otherwise, how do you do that? Not just advice is not. So I think they are moving towards that. It has to be traceable. They are not telling us how you trace it, but they are telling us how to trace it. So we have to do something, help ourselves. So this is one thing which we are doing. Next, please. So I have already spoken about this. Next, please. I think next would be thanks. Is that all? So I think with that, I end my long presentation. I hope I made some points which are of worth considering. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Very, very interesting, and thank you for reminding all of us we don't have a choice. And also thank you for making it very clear that this is a shared agenda. Yes. It's a shared agenda between Denmark and Pakistan. It's a shared agenda among stakeholders.
Absolutely.
One comment from my side, green energy, completely agree, it's a big thing. Just to say that that's one of the areas where our two governments are very committed to working much closer to make sure that the Danish experience and technology when it comes to renewable energy is also being put into use in Pakistan. So, I mean, I think that's another area where where I'm quite certain that we will be working much closer in the future, our two countries. Now I will open for questions based on these really, really excellent presentations. We still have Marie from the Danish Fashion and Textile Institute in Denmark, and we have Peter from the Copenhagen Business School. Still with us. Thank you for that. And I'll open the floor, and you can either comment or put forward very specific questions. I'm looking around, and Peter and Marie, give me a hand if you want to have the floor. I think there were some very specific questions also from the Interloop vision, perhaps very much targeted towards both you, Peter, and you, Marie.
They want to unmute, I think.
So maybe, I think one specific questions that was also about the GSP Plus. What are the opportunities? And perhaps, I don't know, Marie, would you like to add further to that?
No, I think my question was that while GSP Plus is being redesigned, how much role is the Danish Fashion and Textile Association playing in that, working with the Commission in Brussels? Because the thing is that while there are 16 legislations coming in, and there is those new conventions coming in, we have to, what our aim is that while we would definitely like to comply with all of those, but for the manufacturer it's not always possible. It's a government to government thing also, because the governments have to be committed to something. So there has to be an approach which is gradual, and because countries like Pakistan really rely on GSP Plus. So what's your take on that? Would your association be, engaging with the Commission on those things?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. Yes, we will. I think that there is a lot of activity in Brussels right now from not only business associations within the textile and fashion industry, but also a lot of other business associations, because we do see a lot of legislation coming, not only towards the textile and fashion industry, but across different sectors. And it's of course vital that we are present, that we engage in dialogue with the Commission, with the Parliament and other stakeholders in order to give the most precise representation of the industry. So more concretely, DMFT, Danish Fashion and Textile, we are members of an organization called Eurotext, and it's an umbrella organization, a European Brussels-based umbrella organization where we are members together with our sister organizations in Norway, in Sweden, in Finland, Italy, etc. So we try to coordinate our input and working together to develop positions on the various legislative processes and initiatives that are coming. But I must say that it's a very difficult process because it requires a lot of technical knowledge. It requires, about climate, biodiversity, chemicals, labor rights, social rights, circularity, etc. So life cycle assessments, calculating the impact of environmental impact. So it's an extremely technical discussions that we are engaging in right now, and we are and our colleagues in Brussels are extremely busy in trying to stay on top of developments. In addition to working with our European colleagues, we are also engaging with the Danish government in order to, again, together with them, develop a Danish position on the various issues so they take those forward in the EU. So we are working both in Denmark but also at the European level. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, it did.
And perhaps from my side also add, I mean, as you know, that the current GSP Plus, it's coming to an end, and there will be an application process for coming into the new GSP Plus. It's not a given.
Yeah.
And I think that in addition to engage with of course with member state governments and with business associations, it is extremely important to engage with European parliamentarians, because the decision-making process is a bit different than from bilateral arrangements. And it's the parliamentarians sitting in the Parliament, European Parliament, that are the key decision makers. So being present in Brussels, I mean, I think that's a really, really good step, and engaging with parliamentarians would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Ambassador. Yes, exactly, that's what we are doing. We are talking to a lot of MEPs, and we are trying to address their concerns to put forward our point of view.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. We are already doing that.
Yeah.
And apart from, you see, talking with the technical side of the Commission, which actually prepares the proposals, but you're right, the final approval has to go to the Parliament. So we are engaging with various MEPs. Yes, we are.
That's excellent. Marie, please.
Yes, and I just want to add on that because I think it's a very, very wise decision, and it is critical that you are being present in Brussels and in other decision-making elements, because we do see that the development of the legislation is happening extremely fast, yes, not always with input from an understanding of how the textile production actually works. So the more presence, the more engagement, the better, I would say. So it's a very, very wise step that you've taken.
Yeah, also because you see, we wanted to have a separate voice from the government of Pakistan while they are doing. We wanted to have a voice as manufacturers, as people who employ millions of laborers. So that's why we are there. Also, I think the government is doing a wonderful job, as they always do, but the governments are always slow. So we get the information before the government gets. And we sometimes share with them, this is happening, so please look into that. So this is the first time I think a textile of Pakistan has hired a lobbyist, and they are specialized on this. They're very wonderful. They are guiding us very well, and in fact, the current mission which has come here for the review. We have
the monitoring mission, the GSP Plus.
Out of those 5, 3 have engaged with us previously with us from here, and we have been in discussion with them, so they know a lot even before that. So we are trying to put a positive picture of Pakistan, and if you allow me, I think I forgot. Peter was mentioning that while India has a lot of voice in Pakistan, I think he's right. We are doing a lot of things, but we don't know how to market ourselves internationally. Peter, we do have a center of excellence for responsible business in Pakistan, and it's doing a lot of wonderful good work. Although it is organized by the Pakistan Business Council, but it's open for everybody. But probably it is within the confines of Pakistan. We don't project it. We are too much isolated from the world. That center is doing a wonderful work. Lot of publications on responsible business, lot of conferences, but obviously not known internationally.
But that's actually why we're having this meeting.
Yes, good.
Right? So this is the first step to share knowledge and get a better understanding. Again, any questions, comments? Otherwise, I would very much like to Peter to ask on your perspective now, having the perspectives from the different stakeholders and with your vast knowledge from the region. Please.
Can I ask one question, Peter?
Yeah. So before giving the floor to you, Peter, please.
Yes, Peter. Since you are going to speak and sum up everything, I think the point which I raised, I would like to hear your perspective, because I think you're the person who knows everything. While you see the entire governments and the bodies in Europe are trying to bring down the emissions, is there a way where we can or the European Parliament or the European Union, the governments can go to the retailers and tell them to produce less, more durable clothes.
I definitely think so, answering your question. But it, of course, as we talked about, it requires a presence. It requires being in those decision venues, decision-making fora, where those types of decisions are made. And it requires that your voice is being heard. So I think that's quite critical for Pakistani industry. Now, I was thinking about key takeaways. So my question was a little bit back to Liz and Maria. Now, how Liz and Maria, in terms of Danish-Pakistan relations, Pakistan-Europe relations, how can you facilitate the participation of Pakistani sort of suppliers and industry perspectives in some of these fora? Is there anything that embassy in concrete terms